子曰：于无奸言，非饮食，而至孝乎鬼神；恶衣服而至美于服冕，必公事而尽力于沟序，与无为奸言。Okay, this is basically a praise of a king. Let's read the translation. Elijah, why not start with you? So.
Moving on.
Okay.
21. 821.
821.
Okay. The master said, I can find no fault with the legendary Sage King, Yu. He subsisted on meager rations, and yet with lavishly finial in his offerings to the ancestral spirits. His everyday clothes were shabby, but his ceremonial headdress and cap were exceedingly fine. He lived in a mean hovel, expending all of his energies on the construction of drainage ditches and canals. I can find no fault with you.
Okay. Basically good king, right? So in a way that he carries himself very well in the system and the way that those days all good rulers supposed to do. Okay, Noah, can you comment on this?
Yu is the legendary Sage King who through ceaseless effort tamed the floodwaters and made China habitable. His heroic selflessness also won him praise from the Mohists, for whom he represented the embodiment of the doctrine of impartial caring. Confucius here describes him as denying himself everyday pleasures in order to fulfill his ritual and moral duties to others, indicative of an admirable selflessness and dedication to the way. An alternate way to read the first and last lines is to follow Kong and Guo and understand Confucius as saying, You, I am not worthy to be counted his equal.
Okay. Some will say that, we can't find any faults or criticize anything about him. So now Yu is a person that was added to the position. Let me share a little history. His father was a national engineering, who was in charge to deal with a major flood situation, to try to stop the flood. Basically, they have a river called the Yellow River. It's major. Along Yellow River, like many Asian people, they live around the river for the river source, for their irrigation systems of that. So Yellow River is a heart and the basin, if you will, for Chinese culture, Chinese people flourished. Okay, so Yu was in the early days in sequence for some virtuous kings, but in his day, there's another king called Sun before him, where his father acting as a major engineer for national affair, like dealing with the flood, which he did, and his will for doing flood is try to build dams to dam it, so where to go. So the flood continually comes and the dam cannot hold it, so it's literally breaking, and eventually he was, because that kind of thing destroyed a lot of lives, and so he was found guilty. He was put to death because of it. So Yu was the son, the elder son of his father. But again, he was elevated to places, said, okay, while the father put to death, the son continued the same project, and he listened. And it took, I think, 9 years for him to do that. It's one of the legendaries we thought that is the flood like in Noah's time. One of the early histories record that we have a similar flood situation. So now in this occasion, you thinking and listen to his counselor, to others, said, you know what, to try to stop the flood is not a good way to do this. Let's rather channel the flood to go to a river course and let it run to the sea. Now in China, there is a different terrain. That is the east side close to the sea is low elevation, so then the west side, you know Himalaya, right? So it's the tallest mountain in the world. So there's a high elevation there where the snowy cap there becomes actually the river source for that river, for Yellow River. Support two major river systems, but Yellow River is one of the ones that we're talking about here. So naturally run is a course when it's somehow it's run wild, it's easier to channel it to go to the lower elevation than go to the sea. That's what we did, but it takes a lot of work for that to be done, So later history in China, if you learn how China history, this is a continued major project for every government. A lot of flood going on. Even in modern days, we still a few years ago have flood because the dam broke. Even channel you build, still building things. River course try to safeguard the river. There's a lot of detail to that. My point is that he eventually did this, but in the middle of the 9 years of doing that, I think there's a saying called the 3年过期门而不及家 means I don't quite remember the English Chinese statement, so that basically for straight ahead 3 years he was busy with this project. The people's life depend on it, obviously. He come back for his own home, in front of his own door, in a sense, and we don't have the time to even make a visit, make a call on his own home. So it's a person that under great pressure also did a lot, received a lot of good advice, but he's also diligently invested his life in handling this disaster. Because the way he did it, even he was the son of a criminal in their life, a guilty person, he was highly respected as a result. Therefore, they elected him to be the next king. So that's where it is. After that, you can imagine this one went through a terrible, humbling, and hard experience in life. He carried himself very wisely as they call the city king. So one of the things you look at that in the last portion of his outstanding feature as a king, he lived in a mean hovel. That means he lived very humbly. But expand all his energies that he went out still working. And once Moses is dealing with the flood now, he wanted to use the river to irrigate the field, right? He working on the drainage and the canals. So it's a very, very hard-working and caring and the sacrificial king. So with that, we can conclude on book 8. I'm sorry. Yeah. Now let's continue. Do a little bit review before we look on book 9. In book 8, what we learned mainly from book 8, I think that's the time when you guys come around. So Elijah, what do you learn from book 8 in general? There's different verses, different understandings. But do you have a major theme in this compilation? It's called chapter 8. Some we formally be talking about, some dealing with the father-son relationship, some doing sibling relationship, some doing with the king-subject relationship, some doing with the teacher-students relationship. But what this one, mainly the topic is about.
It's like a lot of relational things.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like a lot of relational things in the sense of like learning from one person to another. And that doesn't just have to be a teacher and a student. It can be like a king and a prince and a father and a son. And a teacher and a student.
Yeah.
But it seemed like it touched the book touched on a lot of teaching ways and learning ways and even ruling.
In general, talking about a kingship, right? What a good king or good person in the governmental standing, with those days, you train a principal course for managing government in a sense, and then you see somebody serving the government, how they carry themselves. So here, mainly, I think the recording is the combination of statements or conversations that Confucius had when he commenting on different characters. You can see, and normally you would think a teacher like him was a leader comment like him in an undemocratic or oppressive regime or whatever, you were not able to comment on the king's virtue, good or bad, right? So, but interesting enough, you can look at this point is actually that's a major topic of a Confucian teaching is to learn from those kings or history what happened, try to impart some lessons, right? Some good teachings. Now, that major application of looking things in this light is also the undergirding desire intent of the biblical history as well, like First King, Second King, First Chronicle, Second Chronicle, all other historical book you guys look at that they were able to comment on the past kings, whether they have a heart for God or don't have a heart for God, right? Some said that they follow David's ways or rebel against David's ways, so especially in the Chronicle Kings in the Bible. So is here, there's an exaltation of virtuous kings. I don't see yet he criticized abandoned kings, but there you go. So in a sense, in the Asian tradition, whether in the biblical or Chinese tradition, is there is actually given, like today would give to the medium or news people, if you will, called the fourth branch of government, give is a very honorable place and entrusted place to opine and criticize personality and government policies, So my point is that you look at the Bible, there is office of priests and the prophets. You look at the China history, is also office of criticism, literally in the court have people be a leading critic, just inspect, criticize policy. There's also a place of called history. It's more, for sure, it's practiced sometimes not necessarily law faithfully, but there is this office of a historian, if you will, somewhere going to keep record what you do it, so that's basically China history. Now Confucius was more than a student of those materials and those point of view. He actually involved addition, compilation, and preservation of those records, so we called one of the book called Spring and Autumn from Confucius is where he compiled and sometimes added comment to the histories, chronicle history of the time. So, okay, just try to give you some background why Confucius shares such conversations. That's basically the topic discussed with his students. He teaches them history, most importantly, through the history, he teaches them a wisdom, right? A wisdom, a culture, the way, what it means to be a good ruler, what it means to be a good servant in the government, stuff like that. So now, when you guys learn to, as Elijah said, a kingly way, right? You're going to be small thing. You're going to manage your own household, So right now it's not important for you, but you will have your own children. You're going to have to guide them in a certain way, how to handle all the things, process things, as your parents are currently doing to you guys. Then you're going to work with people in different environment, right? So You can work. Okay, I'm just a cook. I don't worry about anything else. I don't worry about relation doing the things. So then you what others will say. You want to say, well, that's no managerial materials. People will think get offended. So, but they look at your interests, look at the way how you handle yourself, carry yourself. See, come to an objective assessment where your interest lies, where your capacity lies. So we'll tell you, well, it's not a manager material. You're not interested. You're not training yourself. So my point is that you got a near picture for you. You want to be a godly father. You're gonna learn how to handle yourself as a father. Prepare yourself being a godly father, mother, things. If you want to be a godly leader in the community, the setting you give to be, you're gonna be interested in learning through things. Now, what the best thing to learn? Learn from those already interested to teach you along those lines. So, yesterday I had a conversation with you. I wanted to bring some attention to you, highlight. I know recently you got scattered, detached a little bit, but you need to come back to the table of learning. So I don't want to continue to emphasize this again and again as the concentration here. If you're not interested in learning those things, there's really no need for you to show up here, just go through the motion, because that's not what we try to do, is go through a book, right? So now we're making sense to you. I really want you guys to grow in wisdom, in understanding. For sure, it's joyful to spend time with you guys, but we can spend time. Go out to see the lake, right? To walk in the forest, so we have a good time, rather than spend time to do just reading when you normally absorb anything, and spend my energy to not a productive way, So, but you have the opportunity with me to learn something. I will continue to highlight that and draw you back to that main purpose why we are here. So forgive me if I repeat this again and again, okay? So because I want your attention to be in the right place. Now, you learn those things. There are different ways of learning life. Sometimes you learn when you stumble, when you run into the wall, get nowhere, then come back to learn. Sometimes if you're really interested in learning, is learning the things, meditate on it. The Bible said, meditate on the law, the applications. And the Chinese call it, 学不是the one, serve 不是 the day. That's Confucius' statement. Said, if you learn something but don't reflect on it, the reflection is more than the truth of the matter, the depth of the matter. Rather, more importantly, tell towards how can I apply it, where I can practice it. For example, I will tell you, respect your parents. Well, that's a good topic. Everybody great. Nobody will say I don't want to do that, right? So, no child, sensible child, don't want to do that. But do you know how many children actually know how to respect their parents? Not really, right? So you guys agree the evidence of failures where you disrespect your parents, right? So, but even you try to honor your parents, do you think it's the way your parents delight in? Then transact to the other sphere. You said, I want to honor God, love God, please God. If you don't understand how God wants to be loved, how God wants to be honored, how God wants to be pleased, how you can do that? I want to be a friend with Elijah. Am I? So, but Elijah play basketball. I try to say, hey, let's play Batman. Let's play Batman. Anytime Elijah play basketball, I try to say, let's play Batman. I like Batman. I want you, Elijah, to play Batman with me, so you can be my friend. So I can be a friend to you, rather. So oftentimes that is the same simple dictations, right? We say, I want to be somebody's friend. I want somebody to be my friend. But we touch our heart, design the friendship in the way that are not suitable, practical, or applicable for that relationship. You guys come here as the students. What you want to learn? You don't think you have something to learn. If you want to be a student, I talk to you in a certain way. It seems you draw your working attention, but should not in the morning think about this schedule. Was there something new I learned last time? I want to have a discussion with my teacher on those topics. I don't necessarily know that very well. How can I practice it? I want a discussion with Noah. I see somebody not practice it in a good light what we learned. Esther, for example, okay, maybe, hey, Esther, let's review the lesson we learned, am I right? Okay? So is that an uncomfortable thing, offensive thing, or the things really be a good students learning things? You see my point? You have the interest in the things be a students. It's very near us, it's very near us. Unless you be a student, unless you want to be a good son or your father, you can't really do it because your heart's not in it. You're not practicing it. Somebody said that's rigid, that's good. But when you begin to grow, like your age, begin to think about life in a more solid, practical ways, those are things actually is the things you begin to discipline yourself. You don't go with your senses, go with your preferences anymore. You begin to understand, wow, there is a whole world outside. There's relationships that wrap in my life around, need to be studied. There's a pattern in it. There's expectation. That is not oppression, not a maneuver, not control. It's like, I want to be a friend with Elijah. Elijah would expect me, if you really think I want to be his friend, expect me to learn to play basketball. At least sitting there, enjoy him play basketball, rather than say, I want to be Elijah's friend, but I want to play by my man, where Elijah has no interest in it. Young says my point, a student learn from a teacher. You got to say, teacher, what you really want to teach me about? What are you interested in teaching me about? Now wrap it up with chapter 8. Chapter 8 was teaching you how to be a ruler, how to be a manager, how to be a God man standing in society, especially in a place of responsibility and honor in the public. Certain people were trembling, I don't know how to speak into the public. I don't ever think that's a big challenge for me. The reason maybe you never want to be a manager, to be one to share your thoughts, share the vision, discharge some responsibilities, because you really want to do that. So you're not thinking that, I need to be the best orator, in the world. You only think, okay, I need to be on the front to dialogue in an effective way, to make us know what I intend to do, and get my intention, get my purpose being known, am I? That being done, I don't know, maybe with words, good eloquent speech, doesn't matter. In the day, maybe, you don't have eloquence, you don't even know the language, but you can lead them. But the other one, is timid, you definitely cannot be a leader, it's not effective. Second, all this thinking of the good speech is everything. After speech and done the thing, then his speech become an obstacle for him to be an effective leader, right? So make it sense to you. Now, my point to you is that when you want to learn, approach a lesson, approach a text, approach a certain teacher like me, try to teach you something, you really need to learn this. Jesus said, use a measure. What's what he said? By the measure you measure me, will measure back to you. If you think Confucius cannot teach you kingly wisdom, it's write a book, some good thoughts, then you can never be his student. Then someone use Confucius material, try to say, okay, this is good material for me to build upon, to expand some kind of wisdom God had in the Bible, through life, through the Spirit, Impart to young generation. That's the channel I choose, right? That's the platform I choose. you don't think somebody capable of doing that is actually literally doing that with you, then your mind is like there's a blinder, right? There's said, I'm trying to teach you basketball skills, and you said, well, I'm in the badminton court. It's incompatible. Now, in a short time is okay. I mean, take a period of time, 2 or 3 months, and get used to it. But if a year passed, for your young mind, don't recognize the difference, the one speaking to you, teaching you, where every information can get, the respectful voices in your life, counsels in your life said, hold on a minute, approach this thing in a particular way, right? Because you're learning something different than your familiar context, where the people around you may be not able to impart. When you're aware of it, they are yet students of it, maybe, right? Is that make you guys upset or anything? But you got to come to that elevation, a place called a click. Click, you got to click, and the teacher will have absolutely clarity about that, and you should pay attention to that. He should insist on that. He should continue valid, hold you accountable for that. All right? Is that right? Is the teacher a bad teacher, or that's effective teacher, a good teacher, care about you, right? Care what he's teaching, right? Right? Make it sense to you? You can go to the public, find any teacher want to talk. Good in the college, people don't care about what you learn. But what is a really good teacher for your life is? Now, let me give you a understanding. What a teacher should just leave you alone, or see.
I think the teacher should be very involved in each student and in their life even.
Yeah.
And not just try to teach them and not care about their their separate lives, but what their how they may learn, and because everyone's different and stuff.
Sure. Yeah. But eventually, do the teacher care about what he teaches to show some effectiveness in their life or not? Right. So, teacher are going to examine on you that, and not sort of the written test per se, but just looking at the way, especially with teaching the life, wisdom of life. We want to see your way engaging relationship, engaging life. It's particularly either setting me as a partially a teacher, right? So making sense to you. I want you guys to ask questions, to talk things about it. That would be very delightful for me. I've yet to find you guys talking to me the topic we talk about. So Young says my point, so are we merely teaching a textbook here, go through a course here, or try to grab some major themes of life and say, how can I do this? How can I do this? Now you got a new computer, you can use a program, you can use the system or the hardware, what have you. You have a technician or someone can teach you. Would you not turn to him and say, can you show me how to use that software? Can you show me how to use this keyboard, stuff like that? All right, so make it sense to you. Naturally, because you're interested to master the computer, use the computer, you will engage in dialogues. Now, I want to bring some serious topic to you guys. If you're not interested to develop God's relation in your life, you're not interested, then you are incapable to learn the Bible or learn books like I'm talking to you. Because it's not in your mind. This is need to be done. This has to be done. You will then, let's see, with default, right? You will default back saying, everybody doing the thing they're doing, they're talking the thing they're doing, they desire the thing they're doing. Well, that's what they do, basically. Then really, the teachings in the Bible or through others in your life is proved to be effective. Why it's not effective? And because there's no interest in it. Now, let's bring back to a higher elevation of this. If you want to be a manager, you got to ask those people who know how to manage things. You want to be a leader, to be a good father, you got to ask, okay, father, what it means to be a father, what it means to be a mother. and you will pay attention to the people in the young days, beginning part of this knowledge to you. Not wanting this to pray for these people, so for this false. You can't be distracted. It's not that things are delightful or helpful, endurable, but you can't give it up. You said that's not our life. Don't need practiced. We're no different than others. Another different than us. Therefore, the thing we do is to go through the motion. Then you prove to be that's incompatible, am I right? You can't expect a certain result to happen. So go ahead, Noah, pray.
So I do pray for my siblings, Lord. I do, Lord, ask for. Do you want to take that real quick?
Yeah. You can come in first. Okay?
Hold on a second. Yes, Lord. I do pray, Lord, for their hearts and their minds, Lord, that you would, Lord, continue your good work in them, Lord. I do pray, Lord, for an awareness, Lord, of an awareness of engagement on their part, Lord, to know that, Lord, as Brother Emmanuel mentioned, Lord, in highlighting the importance of godly relationships in life, Lord, and how, as with any relationship that exists in life, Lord, it requires a true and a genuine engagement, Lord, just as our care of any living thing, Lord, must be attended to. Lord, if it could even be used as something as simple as a plant or a young tree, Lord, it must be daily attended to, Lord, watered and taken care of, Lord, that it might grow. Lord, in the same way, Lord, failing to do so would lead to its death, Father, Lord, where it would it would never bear fruit, Lord. So would we be aware of this in our own lives, Lord, take this wisdom into account, Lord, and seek to engage with and regularly engage with things that are of utmost importance in our lives, Lord, specifically in our spiritual lives. So, Lord, I pray this over my own siblings, Lord, that we would have a sharp and focused mind and heart during such a time as this, Lord, and that we would receive this information and these things in the context or in the backdrop of its practice in our everyday lives, Lord, from beyond this time, Lord, to our relationships between ourselves, Lord, and even within our own minds and hearts and our thought lives. And I pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
I wanted to query as we continue the topic to continue to, if you will, right attitude. So in the beginning, we're talking about the learning thing with the 7 elements or 7 stages of development of a person's life in terms of expansion of vision. Anybody can give me a recount of that? Esther, how about you? Start with you. So, what's the 7 things?
I didn't memorize them.
You don't memorize them?
Yeah,
okay. Do you have a recollection? Any item? Okay.
I might have some of them written down
Okay.
in my notebook.
Okay.
Right here. If you want me to read those.
No, it's just want to know what come on your mind. Do you remember anything?
There's some about like family, or there's one about. I think there's one about family and
yes.
Like the universe and.
Some part of the universe. Yes.
Yeah.
I
don't exactly remember them though.
That's okay. Yeah. Naomi, your turn.
I don't think I remember.
No. The reason I'll query you guys is because you later come to this discussion, Elijah and Noah went ahead of time. So now, why is it important to remember those things? It's like this is a good students, okay? What it means to be good students, you got to know what are you learning, what are you getting at. Listen, if you want to go to a city, Okay, the simple wisdom of life. Maybe some have not discussed with you, maybe challenge to you, but you eventually have to learn sooner than better. You sooner, then you have effective learning experience with others. Okay, the learning experience is more enjoyable than just redundant, go through the motion, sometimes even frustrating. If you not understand what I try to teach you, you'll be frustrated while continue repeating certain things with you guys. If you're really interested in learning the thing I want to teach you, you'll be delighted for me to remind you of those things. And I got a deeper understanding. I got the further insight. I got the further depth of it. Right? If that's things you really in your heart, you said that's the things I want to learn. I care about. You're not worried about us repeating the topic with you. The reason because when you think I'm repeating without purpose for you, you're already missing it. You're not learning anything. Do you understand? That's my evaluation to you guys. Means you spend 90% of the time not really learning, retain the thing to be learned. And that's a serious question. So why can't I do it? And the expense and the provision are the repeaters right impart to you. There is good students or bad students. You can retain the information. You're not interested in the key region of the information, then you are absolutely not a good student. To me, that's not a good student. Now, you would say, I'm smart with this, I'm good with this. It doesn't matter to this topic, to this occasion. Elijah, you hear me? Okay, this is a criticism to you guys. This is also an admonishment and warning to you guys. Because I'm going to eventually, as in the beginning I told you guys, I'm going to evaluate how you process knowledge and decide whether I should want to spend time with you or not. Did I not say it with you guys then? You know me? The normal teacher will not say, that's not how a teacher is supposed to talk to me. Besides, you got the wrong teacher going on. I'm not that kind of teacher. I don't want to teach students, don't want to learn the topic. Not interesting topic. Does that sound strange to you? Esther, you're going to be a teacher. You're going to be somebody in West. People say, do you want to invest wasted? Not really, am I? You don't want to do that. Why we go through that? Because you have a culture in education system or in the things that you learn, take for granted for many things they are available for you all the time. Not true. Break that contemporary and this foolish mindset, what I call the foolish mindset, because a fool do that. All right? Something you found a good mine, you can just walk away and continue to find another good mine, or you wanted to invest in it, say, let me dig the gold out of it, invest in it, and work hard on it. Come on, lay hands on this young lady. So I want to break certain things. Go ahead. In the spirit. Where's Elijah? You said Naomi. So yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, lay hands on her. When you grow up as your age, maybe a little bit ahead of time for Esther, don't demand this on Esther, but have to learn to receive solid counsel. Means people talk with you seriously. Is that making sense to you, Naomi? If your parents never did that to you, they can't, because unless you make trouble, they will talk to you serious too, am I right? But not everybody in your life positioned supposed to talk the way you like or you think is suitable for you. A teacher on an elder job is giving you some formal, serious topic that in your family setting, your parents and how wonderful and for important the way love you, they can impart that to you. Do you understand what I'm saying to you, Naomi? Now, those are things is a solid experience in life. You go to working with somebody, or have somebody working under you or with you, you got to have some solid discussion about things. Things that you have to detach from your emotions, your preferences. This is a matter of course. It's a matter of what we do. Somebody give you $1,000, you miss in the end of the day, you miss $100. They said, "Where's my 100?" You don't expect people to say, "Don't ask you that question," right? Naomi, is that making sense? I hope you are faithful and diligent and wonderful lady. Will keep the $1,000, keep for people trust you, give him back a month later. Am I right? So making sense to you? But if somebody, imagine you're missing some $100 without reason, ask people, say, "Well, I got a problem. I'm missing $100 from my entrusted money to you." Should I expect people to have that conversation with you and give them $900? Now that's receiving part of you. Somebody, you do something incomplete or improper to others. Now what if others do that to you? Right? So let's see. Start with where was $10. Somebody was going to report about the missing $1. We wanted to that conversation to be said $1 million missing. Then you started the conversation, or you somehow learned that conversation. Maybe when young, you start with $10. That conversation learned prepare you to prevent your place for when only struck a serious conversation that bothers you when $1 million is missing. Am I right? So you're going to be, that's apply to yourself. You'll be a manager. What kind of management you're going to apply to the people who work with you? Are you just going to ignore those responsibilities? You're going to have children to work for you, work with you, your own children. Will you never talk about the finances and mentor accountability? Or it's normal topic. Now, how those topics started with? Sometimes parents give to us. I would say it started with actually the topic I'm talking to you. But the application will enable you to apply those occasions, to able to rise to the occasion and say, "Oh, it's more than $1 missing in $10 thing. There's a principle I can learn in life, and I can enable myself, the effective manager, the effective parents, with the great ability to entrust the stewardship of finances or other responsibility to others in a great scale, but I learn from somebody start with me with $10. If you know how to learn, right? Learn one thing, learn many things. So how you learn that? So when you said this mindset, Naomi, here we go. Then, why Esther drag around continuing like with that $10 thing with me? What a big deal. Well, there you go. You're unteachable. You treat the things very lightly. You take things in your own context, own light. What if Esther said, "Here's not about pocket money we're talking about. Here's somebody give me $10 for a particular purpose." Making sense to you? For helping somebody in missing $10. It's not your own money. So Esther said, "Where's that missing $1? This is a purpose designed for something else." Well, Naomi, I want to pray for you and inspire you. It's to learn to be a leader, to apply the proper context relationship in your life. Whereas in your sibling, when you rebel on your siblings, you're in your family, those are you're not capable to differentiate the difference. Sometimes you can, right? Your mom, your dad tell you to do certain thing on the property for business, the donors really said, "No, you're happy to do it," right? You have to do it. But I want to tell you, in every relationship, there are different roles and engagements in life. It's not just one of the same. You have to prepare and lead others sometime to engage in the contest. You know why I'm talking to you? I'm not talking to Esther? Because you're a bigger sister. You're the leader of your little gang. if I talk to Esther, it will be disconnecting because I respect you as a leader in the midst of the siblings, others. Therefore, I want to effectively engage with you. So when you change, everything changes around you. Every relation changes around you. You have that impact, that natural leadership, natural influence to people. When you don't pay attention to those things, they consequently will influence by you don't pay attention to those things. That making sense to you? You know. So when you have this influence, learn to use it properly, then you can be effective, especially in teaching. Teachers, the wise teacher always got the key students' impact. Okay. You understand my point? You are my key student. If I change you, everyone around you change. You understand? Go ahead. Don't try to be hard on you, okay? So you come of age, you have standing in your circle of relationships. I got to address that to you because you have that natural influence, okay? So, yeah.
Yes, Lord, I do pray for a greater awareness in Naomi's mind and heart, Lord, of her need, Lord, in this stage and season of her life to rise up to what you have called her to be. Lord, indeed, there are many natural aspirations that she has for her own life, Lord, which are understandable, Lord, but I do ask, Lord, that she would, as this time we even spend today encourages, Lord, would look beyond the interests of her own life, Lord, to those that she influences around or through herself or the other lives.
I'm going to do something today. We're not going to read on. We finish today's lesson, but I'm going to pray for you guys to change your attention back. Okay, so that attentiveness is lost, and the sensibility to this occasion is obscured now. But God to come back, Naomi. You know, so that's what it means. What God set this up for us to be. I want to invest in it. The second is God can use you to impart the culture to the people around you through you. If you are my close students and you invest such time with you, there's no change, no evidence, a different way. Then I will be a failed as a teacher, right? So, and I don't want to do that. No, I want to invest in things that are unproductive, am I right? So you useless to do that. I want Naomi to close your eye. You will see a vision. Bless the Lord. Esther, can you close your eyes and pray for Naomi as well? So you know God is hard for you, and God is working in you. You know your mind is still struggling, your emotional mind not even. But listen, let God's heart in you and for you and through you be exalted, be put in the center. Everything. Close your eyes. Go ahead.
Yes, Lord, I pray for my sister Naomi, Lord, that she would, Lord, begin to rise above her childish ways and begin to, Lord, truly understand who you are and what you have for her life, Lord. Lord, that she may take authority in her life and take hold of her own ways. So, Lord, I pray that you bless her as she does so, Lord, and that she would be an example to those who also seek you, Lord, and that she would help others. So, Lord, I pray that you bless her in Jesus' name.
Naomi, why not you pray a little bit? Yeah, thank you, Lord. Bless us. I hope you don't feel bad or I'm spare time to do this, okay? We need to regroup in the mind, in the heart of what we do, okay? So, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, Lord, I just pray for, Lord, Lord, a perspective change, Lord, even on my own life, Lord. Lord, I pray that I would just continue to, Lord, build, Lord, my life in you, Lord, and in your ways, Lord, so that I may be an example to others and will be able to lead, Lord, in the right direction, Lord, and not in the wrong. Lord, I pray for, Lord, just my heart and my mind, Lord, that I would reset, Lord, and just follow you, Lord, in your light. Lord, I pray for the people around me. Lord, I pray, Lord, for just their hearts and Lord, their perspectives on life, Lord, that Lord, I would be good encouragement.
Which you are. You want you to shine even brighter, right? So.
Yeah, so that we would just continue in, Lord, the right direction of life, Lord, and continue to build your culture, Lord. I pray that you would just bless, Lord, each one of my siblings, Lord, in our relationships, Lord, that we would, Lord, just continue to work together and encourage each other while we are, Lord, still close and together as a family, Lord. I thank you for your love for us, and I pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Well, tell me your visions before we wrap it up. So,
I didn't see anything.
You didn't see anything about Esther? I don't see anything? Okay. No. Okay. Close your eye. Continue. I'll pray for you. Let's see what's going on. Others to pray the cloudiness, all those young minds be dismissed, Lord. It's a wonderful time of transition. It's a meaning, wonderful relationship, one engagement, interest for life, the blossoming in many ways. But the world can be also distracting, Lord. The weeds of life can be absorbing. Let us pray that the roots of your word, I know those two loves you, care about you, eagerly wanted to have a wonderful life in you, Lord, as a blessing, as a good example, as a testimony for you, Lord. I pray that your hand, not heavy on them in terms for them to be burdened or discouraged, but heavy on them in establishing them to trust them, Lord, to entrust them. Because with your responsibility, with your purposes, surely on the shoulder there's some burden. You will entrust them to do, Lord. Your servant Paul said, I'm not unfaithful to God's grace or God's entrustment, Lord. I pray for Naomi and Esther. We'll have a little bit of personal reflection, even reckoning. Said, where is God's calling for me in this season, in the particular juncture of my life, in the setting where He has me, Lord. I thank you for their life. They're wonderful, tender, beautiful hearts, flourishing in many ways. But Lord, also, there's a lot of things that He called in between, almost like a culture clash, Lord. Also some default things. We hopefully, with time we spend like this, will bring at least awareness to those things, Lord, and inspire them to have a zeal and passion to be set free from those familiar ways or conventional ways of man, rather refreshed and exciting and walk in great delight in your ways, in your culture. Amen. In Jesus' name. In Jesus' name. Well, anybody have anything to share at this point? We'll wrap it up. You guys okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Noah, do you have some comments with what I shared today? Some observation, any encouragement to your young friends? Yeah.
My young friends.
Yeah. I can't tell you. Young sibling is a bad word, this.
No, I see.
So, yeah.
No, I do think I know it's been a little bit since we've met together, but
it's easy to talk down to you guys. I'm saying this.
Yeah, it doesn't negate our need to regain our focus into certain things. I know especially at least Elijah, has been doing this for long enough to know that when we engage in times like this, we don't carry the same mode of thinking that we may have brought with us, even being in a familiar environment like home. Just showing the proper approach and need to come into a time like this with a very specific mode of thinking, which enables us to not only focus but to receive what's being offered to us. Because, like Amanda mentioned so many times, if you don't come into this time with that same mode of thinking, and this even applies to times on Mondays, then there's literally no reason for you to come. You're not required to come.
This has become, to me, it's effective. I can accomplish what I'm accomplish with this setting for young hearts, right? So it becomes effective. Just sometimes the real reason I very slow including others in those times, not that I don't like them or appreciate them, is because this kind of things required a context and the support, especially from the parents, with your parents wonderfully, dedicate your guy to this time. The support said this is the right thing to do. This is things need to be addressed. These things is helpful for young ones. Not as a front.
What I think you should take seriously today from today, take seriously from today specifically, is that you need to very seriously think about what your intentions are in coming here. Because if you are only coming here because you're afraid of how people will think of you if you don't, and it says you don't have a particular desire to come, then you have a lot to think about. This is all that can be said there. Because I know how it feels to think that you're somewhat obligated to attend something that you know is important, but that in your heart you don't have
obligation for you.
You literally don't have to come to something
on our part.
This is completely optional. Yes, there are indeed expectations, but I'm just saying you have a lot to think about if that is the current state of your heart. Great. And so obviously bring those things before the Lord, and also do not ever hesitate to speak with people like Emmanuel, maybe even myself, or people like Dad too.
Your parents,
if you want to talk about it.
Close person to ask, why are they sending?
Be honest with yourself.
Yeah. Well, reflect on that. I do want to drag another 10 minutes before letting you guys. You need to go.
We do need to go really soon.
Elijah, do you have some reflection on today's when I share things that are nature?
Yeah.
First, do you think it's necessary?
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It reminded me a lot of when I first started coming to Saturday meetings.
I give you a hard time.
Yeah.
I don't quite recall. So
not that I'm all better or whatever. I mean, I still
Yeah.
have a lot to learn from the conversation you gave.
Yeah.
And I noticed I do need to regain my focus because my mind is
Wandering.
scattered and running around like a wild animal. So.
I would not have you guys, like you get in a class or lectures, whatever. Do you want to continue to look at your phone? I mean, just talk, right? You go to a movie theater, the moviegoers will tell you, that guy continue to look at the phone, distracted, right? So, talking, so they will remind you, please put down your phone, right? So, I mean, sorry. I mean, that's something you have to do yourself. More than that, no, I mean, I would have said, hey, Esther, why you pull your phone out again? Something I want you to help me to not as enforcement, but as a norm, right? So, my point is that, because it does matter long term, it doesn't matter for you in long term. If you spend solid time learning from people, that's the mode you carry yourself. Do you think that time will be very effective to you? And it's not honorable either. I mean, not respectful, right? So, I'm sorry to cut you short of your conversation. I'm not.
I don't really have much else to say.
Yeah, picking on you. I'm just saying, those things need to be addressed sooner or later as distraction. Somebody has to talk to you about those things. my point is I don't want to talk to you about the things. I want you to guys self-realize those things, self-doing it, and help one another. Some of the missing on that was said, "Her, we spend time with somebody. Let's not do those things, all right? So think about the impact over that. If you're able to do that, all the friends involved with you would not be naturally say, oh, there's something special about all these people care themselves all about this time, am I right? So anyway, comment from Esther. Esther, you get what we tried to say?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
At least myself should better concentrate myself on what is being said.
You're young. We don't put a lot of weight on you, so